A very good morning, children. Welcome to the English online class. Children, as you all know that you are having your first periodic online test on 28th July 2020. So, we are starting our revision session from 13th of July. That means from today onwards. So, this is your first session of revision and we will revise the chapters that we have completed before your holidays. As you all have received the date sheet as well as the syllabus, so I hope that you know what will come in the first periodic test. Or let me remind you, you will get chapter number 1 to 3 from your first flight book prose section and poem 1 to 3 from your poetry section. From your supplementary book, that is Footprints Without Feet, you will get 2 chapters in the periodic test. And from writing section, you will get formal letter. So children, this is your syllabus for English periodic test 1, which will held on 20th July 2020. So today let us begin with the revision session. Today we are going to revise the chapter number 1 and 2 from your prose section and poetry 1 and 2 from your poetry section. I hope that you remember which one is your first chapter. That is A Letter to God, which is written by G.L. Fuentes. Children, I'm going to tell you a short summary of this chapter so it will help you to recall what is there in the chapter. So here is the summary. The story A Letter to God, which is written by G.L. Fuentes, depicts unwavering faith of a farmer in God. It begins with a farmer named Lencho expecting for a rain shower to nourish his field of corn. He is confident that his harvest is going to yield him huge profits, just like it does every year. To his utmost excitement, rainfall did happen, but sooner it turned into a hailstorm, destroying his entire crop field. The damage posed a threat to the family's survival as their entire livelihood was dependent on the year's produce. Although disheartened, the family had robust belief in the Almighty. Lencho, despite having worked day and night at the field, knew how to write and thus decided to write a letter to God explaining his situation and asking for help. He went to town to post his letter addressed to God. The letter, on being noticed by the postmaster, at first amused him, but then motivated him and want to do something for the farmer so as to keep his immense belief intact. He contributes from his salary and collects money from his colleagues and friends who willingly contributed for an act of charity. To his dismay, he could only collect 70 pesos, which he wrapped in an envelope to make it seem like a reply from the deity. On having found the letter, the writer, Lencho, is not at all shocked, but instead he gets angry on finding that the amount is less than what he had expected. He again writes a letter to God, conveying his disappointment and distrust in the employees of the post office. who he thought had stolen the remaining amount. So, children, I hope this helped you to recall the chapter. Now, let's move towards the second chapter, that is Nelson Mandela Long Walk to Freedom. So, let us have a look on the summary of this chapter. In this chapter, children, as you remember, that it is the extract from the autobiography of Nelson Mandela, who was born on 18th of July 1918, the first black president of South Africa. It begins with the description of their inaugural ceremony, which took place on the 10th of May 1994, where the entire nation, along with many international leaders, embraced the victory of a newly and fairly elected government. It involved speeches by the president and two deputy presidents, followed by an impressive air show of fighter jets and helicopters. Long ago, in the first decade of the 20th century, white supremacy introduced the system of apartheid and made life a living hell for the dark skinned population. It gave rise to one of the most inhumane societies of the world. Many people have struggled and sacrificed for basic human rights. The author expressed his desire to thank all those freedom fighters who couldn't live to see this autumn day. He referred to the citizens as the greatest asset of the country. It is these people he gathered his courage from. Mandela believes that courageous is not the man who is fearless, but the man who has overcome fear. He also mentioned the two responsibilities every human has and how, in order to fulfill his obligations towards the society, his obligations toward his family was neglected. He became a man of people when he realized that the idea of freedom was an illusion for him and people like him. It was then he joined the African National Congress and fought for his rights, till he became the first black president of the nation. According to him, the oppressor is as much a prisoner as the oppressed. As soon as the former robs the oppressed of their freedom, he himself gets robbed of his humanity. Thus, the oppressor too is not free. So, this was the summary of the chapter number 2, Nelson Mandela, A Long Walk to Freedom. Let us move towards the first poem now. The first poem is Dust of Snow, which is written by Robert Frost. So, the poem, which is written by Robert Frost, throws light upon the unimaginable healing power of nature. So, in this poem, The Dust of Snow, the poet throws light upon the unimaginable healing power of nature and tiny things. From a bad mood to ill health, there is nothing that can't be cured by nature. The author was experiencing one such bad day when a crow's movement near a hemlock tree dusted snow upon him. The snow instantly makes him happier. His day gets a lot better. Thus, the supremacy of nature as a whole made him realize how petty his problem was. The fact that hemlock tree is poisonous, combined with crow being the indicator of doom and fear, are used in the poem as the carriers of happiness in the life of narrator is ironical. The poet, through these objects, has tried to highlight that sometimes creatures linked with negative aspects of life can be the bringer of change and happiness. Being outdoors in nature and all its unpredictably can benefit anyone, anywhere, at any time. So one has to stay positive always. So whenever you come through a situation where you find that something is going wrong with you, don't get depressed. Just see around you. You will find something good that will make your day. So this is what the poem is all about. Now let us move towards the second poem, that is Fire and Ice, which is again written by Robert Frost. Fire and Ice is a strong symbolic poem where fire is used as the emotion of desire and ice that of hatred. He has used the idea of two groups who have their own possible explanation for the end of the world. One is of the opinion that fire alone can destroy each and every possibility of life on earth, while the other thinks that if ice, as a result of extreme low temperatures, could cover the earth's surface, it would lead to the end of the world. Both the components are compared with self-destructing human emotions, desire and hatred. The poet is originally of the opinion that he has been very closely associated with the fiery desires and considers it capable of bringing human beings on the verge of destruction. But then he thinks that icy hatred is just as capable of ruining human thought slowly and steadily. Therefore, if earth was to end twice, ice would just as good as fire. If fire would lead to rapid destruction, ice would lead to silent damage. Similarly, if fire is pure passion, ice is pure reason. Thus, the poem very artistically underpins the philosophy that we let our emotions rule us, and if we don't control them, they will surely bring us all the verge of chaos. So, this was the summary of the poem Fire and Ice, which was written by Robert Frost. Children, I hope that you all have understood both the chapters from prose section, that is A Letter to God, and Nelson Mandela, A Long Walk to Freedom, and both the poems from poetry section. The first one is Your Dust of Snow and the second is Fire and Ice. So now let me tell you what is the pattern of the online question paper. Children, you will get 40 questions in your English online exam and you have to attempt all the 40 questions. Each question consists of 1 mark. I repeat that each question consists of 1 mark, so you have to attempt all the 40 questions. It is compulsory. The questions will be in the form of multiple choice question, fill in the blanks, true or false, or one word answer or one sentence answer. Children, multiple choice question example is here. For example, the first one question is given here. Lencho wrote a letter to whom? So options are given here. God, the village master, the post master, or to his mother. So 4 alternatives are here. you have to choose the correct one and put right tick in front of it. That is the God. The correct answer is God. Lencho wrote a letter to God. So likewise, in the same manner, you will do the second question, fill in the blanks. A statement will be given to you from the chapter or from the poem, and you have to fill the blank. Means the sentence you have to complete. The third one is true, false. Again, the statement will be given to you from the chapters or from the poem, and then you have to state whether the statement is true or false. The last one is the fourth one is one word answer. So a question will be given to you. You have to answer in one word or in one short sentence. So this will be the form of questions that will be asked to you in the online examination, and you have to attempt all the questions. So children, I hope that you have understood what I have taught you today. Thank you, and Saira.